guys, welcome back to my channel. It's GlamCam, and in this video I'm giving you the do's and the don'ts for wearing protective styles. Okay, so by definition, protective styles are hair that protect your natural hair, are usually worn for a long period of time, most likely between 1 month to 3 months if you're being extreme, and they usually have your hair wrapped up in either fake hair, aka braids, extensions, Senegalese twists, cornrows, or they can be sewed in tracks, even wigs. So we're labeling all of those types of hairstyles where your hair is wrapped up or cooped up in some type of style for a period of time between like a week and 2 or 3 months. So I'm just going to give you guys the do's and don'ts just to make sure that you're maintaining your hair length and your hair health while you're wearing protective styles, while you're styling on them and your little cute styles, and while you're protecting your hair. So I have my hair in Crochet Faux locks. They are locks that my friend Jackie did. I will link the hairstylist below so you can check her out. And these were inspired by Poetism on YouTube, and they are roughly to my butt, and they are parted in medium to large parts, and I've had them in for 2.5 weeks now. So my hair, I have given you guys a way to prep your hair for protective styles. I have just posted that video. Please check that video out just so that you make sure that you utilize your wash day prior to getting your hair in protective styles, and that you utilize that time to the maximum potential that it has to ensure that your hair retains moisture and is durable, strong, and is growing while it's in that protective style. So check that video out. So in these faux locks, I feel like I don't usually get my hair done by other people. Obviously, I do my own hair. You see my videos on YouTube. But this particular style that I just did not think I felt like accomplishing, so I had my friend do them. The thing about getting stylists to do your hair, you just want to make sure that they are caring for your hair just the same way that you would care for your hair. So I'm going to go into the do's and don'ts, and I'm going to start with the don'ts. So the number one don't is don't let a stylist be too rough, braid too tight, or not care for your hair the same way that you would care for your hair. So when people get their hair done, most of the time the stylist is just getting through their hair, and they have their techniques to make sure that the hairstyle lasts for months on end. For example, the braiding shops, they usually have multiple people doing your hair. They're trying to get you in, get you out, and get their money. Not to say that they're like, scamming you for money. They're obviously doing, decent hairstyles and doing a good job. But most of the time, they're not really caring for your hair the same way that you would. And you can't always expect people to care for your hair the same way you would, only it's your hair, So just make sure that you communicate with your stylist, and if they're being too rough, let them know. And just don't go to a stylist that is probably rough on hair and has a record of like not caring for your hair or causing breakage or, pulling your hair too tight. Because the number one thing about protective styles is you don't want to cause tension. So the second don't is going to have to be, don't keep protective styles in for longer than 3 months. I know 3 months is pushing it, but longer than 3 months, you're actually locking your hair. I mean, you're going to cause more damage trying to take the style out, because your hair, natural hair at that, is more prone to, once it's in the style for a long time, it's going to mold that way. That's how locks are done. So you want to make sure that you take your hair out. I personally keep my protective styles in for a month at the most, and then I'll take it out, I'll wash my hair and give it a break. So you want to make sure that you don't keep your hair in for, I would say, longer than 2 months, but 3 months is like the max. But I would definitely say no longer than 2 months, in my opinion. Just because when your hair is tied up for 2 or 3 months, you're not able to wash it effectively. You're not able to moisturize it effectively. You're not able to remove the shed hair periodically. So all of that is just gunking up and molding into your hair. And it's going to be really hard to take out that style, to detangle your hair, and to just make sure that you don't break all of it off, because hair can get weak in that period of time where it's not being taken care of and it's not being tended to. So you want to make sure that you give your hair a break from protective styles from between a month or 2 months at the most, and just make sure that you're caring for your hair on a regular basis. Not saying that you have to wash your hair multiple times a month. I personally do, but when your hair is in a protective style, you're usually giving yourself a break from your hair while wearing a cute style. So you're most likely probably not going to wash your hair while it's in the protective style. So you want to make sure that you at least take your hair out between a month and 2 months so that you're able to wash your hair and condition it and detangle it and care for it how it needs to be cared for. Make sense? Yeah. Okay. The number 3 don't is going to have to be, don't get protective styles that cause tension on your hair, especially in your roots, your scalps, and your edges. So a lot of protective styles, this is usually done by the stylist that is too rough. They'll give you a protective style, or they'll style your hair to where they're pulling at the roots just to make it really tight so that they last longer. And that can usually cause headaches. It'll just be really tight and your hair will be very sensitive for the first few days or week. And you can even get those like little red bumps on your edges when it's pulling too tight for a long period of time. And those are all signs of causing tension alopecia, just breakage in general, and it's slowing down your hair growth rate. You're losing hair, and it's just bad. So you want to make sure that when you do get a protective style, that you take the necessary precautions to make sure that, you know, the style isn't too tight on your hair. I would say not to get styles that have small parts, because usually those small parts are going to individually pull those little strands in that small part, if that makes sense. So like I got these, and I could have gotten them a little, you know, smaller would have been fine, but I wanted, you know, medium size so that I can have the fullness of the style. And these don't really cause tension. Now in the beginning they were a little tight, just because stylists are going to do them a little tight just because they want them to last and look well, but they weren't too tight to the point where it was like pulling out my hair. Definitely make sure that you take the necessary precautions to not get styles that are too stressed on your scalp, and especially on your edges, because edges are hard to grow back. You want to keep them while you have them, you know. So just make sure you get, you know, medium-sized parts if you know, if you're okay with that, if that's the style that you want. If you're going to get small parts, just make sure you communicate with the stylist, or just talk to yourself if you're doing it yourself, just to not pull so tightly on your hair. If you're doing it yourself, you can usually feel it. For the stylist, you're going to need to communicate that. So those are my 3 don'ts. Don't go to a stylist that is too rough. Don't keep a protective style in for longer than 3 months maximum. 2 months, 1 month ideally. And don't, I forgot it. Okay, let me just start over. Don't get a protective style that causes tension on your scalp, roots, or edges. Now that we got the don'ts out the way, let's go to the do's. So I wrote these notes down, so if I'm looking down, I just want to read the words that I wrote verbatim so that I don't leave anything out. So for this do, I'm going to have to say, do research on the style you want, the person you trust to do that style, and how you care for your hair throughout wearing the style. Do your research. Okay, so I have videos where you can count them as research, where I show you how I prep my hair for protective styles for maximum moisture retention and hair growth, how I oil my scalp while I'm wearing protective styles. I also have a video on how I maintain, cleanse, and stimulate my scalp during protective styles. You can count those as research, but you also want to do, you know, extra research to make sure that the style that you desire, how you can put that in your hair safely, and how you can care for your hair throughout that style. Because you may be getting a sew-in. I don't really have a video on how to maintain your hair for a sew-in. So you want to make sure that you get that research, how to, you know, make sure that your hair is able to breathe throughout the style. If you're able to get to the parts in your hair so you're able to oil your scalp while you're wearing it, are you able to wash your hair while it's in that sew-in style, etc., etc. So you want to do your research. You want to make sure you go to a person that is knowledgeable on the hairstyle that you want and how you can care for your hair, and then they're able to give you those tips and, you know, techniques on how to care for your hair. And you want to make sure that you do care for your hair throughout that style, and just know how to do it and how to care for your hair and how to listen to your hair while it's in that style. So do your research, know yourself, know your hair, know your style, okay? Okay, moving on to do number 2. Do cleanse your scalp, do stimulate your scalp for hair growth, and do moisturize your hair to the best of your abilities throughout wearing the style. So that means oiling and stimulating your scalp on a daily or every other day basis. That's ideal, especially if you have parts that are exposed like so, and you're able to get to your parts as much as possible. In any other style, you want to make sure that you're able to get to your scalp on a regular basis. If not, if you have like a wig that is glued on and you're not able to get to your scalp, you definitely want to prep your hair prior to putting it in that style, and you want to make sure that you don't keep it in for too long so that you can, you know, take that off and get to your scalp within like a week or 3, you know. So just listen to your hair. If you know that your hair gets dry quickly, don't keep a style in for too long so that your hair is dry and brittle and snapping off when you take out the style. That's just not common sense. So just use common sense, guys. I mean, love your hair, care for your hair, don't neglect it. Okay, and do number 3. You want to make sure that you do make sure you wash, detangle, and prep your hair for the protective style, and give your hair the most patience and care before putting it in a protective style for weeks. Okay, that is the most crucial time that you have with your hair before you put it away for a month, 2 months at that. Okay, so you want to make sure that you give yourself a nice thorough deep condition. You might even want to give it a hot oil treatment. You might even want to give it a protein treatment, but you want to make sure you give it whatever it needs to withhold itself while it's in that protective style and left alone for months or weeks, you know. So I have a video on how I prep my hair for protective style, specifically how I prep my hair for this protective style, and you can watch that video above or down below. But basically, you want to make sure that your hair is properly detangled, it's properly cleansed, your scalp is moisturized, and your hair strands are moisturized, especially the ends of your hair, because that is what you're not going to be able to touch while it's in the protective style, depending on what style you get. So you want to make sure that your hair is nicely moisturized before it's put up for weeks. Okay, so those are my 3 do's. Do your research. Do make sure that you cleanse your scalp and moisturize and stimulate your scalp while it's in the protective style, and do properly detangle, moisturize, and prep your hair prior to putting it in the protective style. So usually some hairstylists will also wash your hair before they put it in a protective style. I personally don't prefer that. I personally prefer to wash my own hair because I know what my hair needs. I know how much patience I need to have with my hair, and I know I have a wash day regimen that my hair responds to positively that the hairstylist may not know. They may be too rough. I don't want to deal with that. I know how my hair moves, so I'm going to prep my hair. I'm going to wash it. I'm going to detangle it. I'm going to deep condition it. I'm going to do my rice water treatment, and I'm going to blow dry it so that by the time I get to the stylist, all they have to do is put the hair in, you know. So just know yourself. Those are my 3 don'ts. Those are my 3 do's. I hope this information was informative for you guys. I would say that I am taking heed, and after 2 months, I feel like my hair is growing nicely. I've been oiling my scalp every day. I use it as a self-care form. So like when I'm bored, I'll just like, you know, oil my scalp and massage it in, and then I feel it tingle, and I just feel like I did a good deed. So definitely try to use caring for your hair as a self-care, you know, technique. So it's not a hassle, it's not a burden or a chore, that you enjoy it, and that you're giving, you know, you're in a positive mental state while you're doing your hair all the time, so that your hair listens to that and responds to that, and it cooperates with you because you have positive vibes that you're flowing into your hair when you're smiling and enjoying yourself doing your hair. So yeah, those are my 3 do's and my 3 don'ts. I hope this information was informative to you guys. Subscribe to my channel if this information was, because I do have more content coming for you guys. And like and comment on this video if anything was informative, or any part that you have questions on, or have any other added tips that you want to contribute. Comment them down below, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. Thanks, bye.